Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Tennis Manager 24. This is episode number 7. We're continuing with that push to try to get to that first December and see if we can, offset this debt a bit. We open up with a 50 level tournament win for Robin Montgomery, though. This has got to help with that form, though looking at everybody, their form seems to be decreasing. One of the comments in the last episode has given me the idea to go in and start manually impacting training sessions that will help with form. There are some that help more than others. There's some that help with morale more than others, and I really need to start micromanaging that if I want to see our other athletes perform. For all I know, a big part of why they are struggling for form is that they aren't being coached directly. They do not have a staff member assigned to them, and I can't assign a staff member to them. And it could 100% be why we see it fall off rapidly and be so difficult to find. Yet with Martina King, I easily found it and I've easily maintained it. And even when she has struggled, it's only dropped a few points away. For everybody else, success, 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 and you barely find form, and then one early exit, and it's gone. Could be the coaching situation, which there's nothing I can do about with $448,000 in debt. King is going to open up this episode with a 200 level tournament. She's the 1 seed. We have yet to see King win a 200 level tournament, but as a 1 seed and in form, this seems like her best chance at it. She almost loses in the second round, but she will move on to see the third, plus 15 in winners. Nagonye, rookie 10, so we got her into that low level tournament. She got to the second round. I think that was her first senior level victory in a match in a long time, even though she still had a quick second round exit. But that was the first time in months that she's won a senior level match. It's a semi-final loss in this 200 level tournament for Martina King. That shouldn't hurt her form, but she absolutely got outclassed by a player who's probably got a lot more skill than she does at this point. Errors were quite minimal. She played a clean game. She just couldn't beat the opponent. Nagunye, 500 level, and Havda, 50 level, both getting to quarterfinals. That's certainly helpful. And here we go into contract renewals. I kind of have to extend contracts as we literally cannot afford to sign anyone new. So we're going to try to stick with the staff that we have, if it'll let me. If it'll let me. They might want a bonus, in which case we are kind of screwed. Yeah, we currently don't have enough money for the signing bonus. Well, the good news is, even though we had no money for bonuses, all of them wanted to stay with us, so they're essentially going to make the same that they were making. That's certainly helpful. I think we're maybe $100 total for 4 contracts, more than what we were, so we can at least retain staff. Nagunye gets a +3 to her composure. That's got to help her perform at a higher level. She was a 9 in composure before. Killer Instinct also a +1 there, so +4 overall to some attributes. Also, you can see her form buffs. Serve consistency added 1. Her serve power went from a -1 to a +1. Her serve spin went from a 0 to a +1. So we're seeing progress in form development already. Even Havda went from a -1 to a +1 in return, a -1 to a +1 in footwork, and balance dropped by 1, but it's at least a positive number. Meanwhile, King has leveled up her footwork to a 12. Her next tournament, 100 level. These are ones that we've won a lot, but recently our form has not been great. Just very good. Let's see if she can get back to winning ways. It's been a little while, I think, since she's won a tournament. Not true. She's won 1 of the last maybe 6. Third round goes 3 sets, but it is a winner, so King is continuing on. She had a +31 in winners, but unlike normal, she had 44 unforced errors and 16 forced errors. She was a mess. But the huge advantage of it was all her in this match. She controlled every inch of it, but she was all over the place. Another turn of the month, we only made 20K in tournament winnings in October, which was enough to still be number one. So it's not a terrible result, but with banking costs at 19.5, like we barely turned a profit in that area, which of course we're losing overall. So pretty bad month. Entering November, it's now 519,000 in debt. Semi-final victory for Martina King. Let's play the final. Final is against the 2 seed Lily Tagger, 112th in the junior rankings. We have never played each other. She's won just over half of her matches this season, so she's definitely decent. Her return points and serve points numbers aren't far off from ours. Slight advantage, balanced match overall, so probably favored in the physicality area, but probably a little bit behind in the technical area. Relaxation was our issue. We told her that we'll beat her at the PlayStation tonight. Don't stress out. So that seemed to be related to relaxation, and sure enough it was. So the one area where she's a bit low, hopefully that's the energizer she needs to go out and perform. Our opponent, a little bit tired, facing a little bit of discomfort, but it's just green level, so she's not doing too bad, and she is confident, concerned, troubled, and thrilled, meaning she's got the same setup we have, except for the relaxation that we turned from being identical to that to being reassured. So we have a little bit of a mental advantage, but barely, and we have sounds like a form advantage, and we definitely have a fatigue slash minor knock advantage. But we did lose the first game, but we are only just now serving, so she served first, which is strange. We're the higher ranked one. I thought the higher ranked one gets to serve first. Isn't that how it's decided? Nice winner there. 40 love.
Second service.
And that sure looked like they just touched the line, but we don't get the call.
Second service.
Turn around a moment later, get the winner. 1 game all. A little long there. Let's speed things up, though. We've got to get to December. Nearly break her there, but we don't manage to do so, and it's 3 games all. Again, we look at breaking and do finally get that advantage now. 5 games, 3. If we take care of business here, it'll be set point. 40-15, got the winner. First set. Not convincing fashion, but definitely looked the better player. Just ahead on points, just enough. Actually looking pretty strong at the moment. Love 30 advantage here in the opening game of set number 2. Whoa! That's the first nasty ball we've played, and very much the after that one, like, oh yeah, what happened there? From a love 30 advantage to trailing 40-30. If we're gonna break her in this first game, we're gonna have to get back into dominating play. Finally playing the ball better here, but lose the rally, lose the game. Speed things up here again in this second set. Our opponent is now stressed, so she's worse than she was. She is no longer confident. She is anxious. She is still concerned. She is still stressed. Meanwhile, we are enthusiastic now, self-assured, indecisive, but we're back down to troubled. And we're trailing 4 games too. 5 games too. We need a relaxation to... Okay. But take it easy. No change to emotion. And that's the end of the set. One set all. That was a very poorly played second set, and there was no reason for it. Why did we go back to troubled and no longer relaxed, where our opponent wasn't doing well, but we seem to be worse mentally. And now trailing 3-1. 4-1. She's going to lose this final. That's okay. Match point. So weird to come out of that set and face mental duress instead of, And our opponent's now tired too, so she's stressed and making mistakes, and yet we still can't do anything.
Fault. Second service.
Motivation up. Ooh, nice ball. From 40 love, we've gotten back into deuce. Staying alive for the time being.
Advantage.
A break here would make it 5-3, and then we'd have service. You can make it 4-5. It gives you a chance. Ugh, let. The worst thing in tennis. Let. Serve's gotta go over and in. It's gotta land in the box. If it's gotta land in the box and not hit the net, why, if it hits the net and lands in, do you get a redo? Rules are the rules. You shouldn't get a third serve. That should be a double fault. I know the rule. I know let. I know what it is, but it drives me nuts. It's the worst rule in tennis. And it leads to her getting the win. She gets a third serve. She hit the freaking net. She didn't serve cleanly in. And that was her second fault. Should have been her second fault. Gunier 200 level juniors. Hovda finally recovering from her elbow issue. Gunier out in the quarterfinals. 3 sets. New focus training. Gunier, her morale is good. Her form is now average from terrible, and her physical condition is good. Montgomery has not had any focus training, and look, her form is down to mediocre. It's not awful, but things are not looking good, and actually she's even in discomfort, left thigh. Hovda has had a couple weeks to train because her rank got so low that we couldn't even get her into second tier senior level tournaments. Yikes. But look at this. Morale, beaming, form, average, and physical condition is good. The strategy is paying off so far, and it looks like we might be able to eke some form out of them. Montgomery is the clear, what happens when you don't get the focus training. Her form is dropping. It's been getting worse. So, pretty happy to see kind of where we're headed with this. I mean, look at that form. Where Hovda still not getting the technical boosts, but she's down to some zeros and an A+1. But look, the physicals, the mentals, starting to go the right direction. Nagunier, also, she's down to just a few -1s, and she's got a lot of neutrals or even some +2s in the mentals. King's next tournament, another 100 level, another 1-seed opportunity. Not too many wins for a while, but hanging in there with the form. Gets out of the first round, 6-4, 6-2. Yeah, look how much better this is, other than Montgomery right now. Scarlett Nicholson has gotten the better of me twice now this season. Quarterfinal match, we win the first set with a tiebreaker, lose a close second set, lose a tiebreaker in the third to get knocked out. -5 on winners, -9 on unforced errors, level on forced errors, 47% of points won overall. We were really weak on the return. Earliest exit in a while. From a level 1 manager at the start of the season, we're already up to seasoned, which is level 3. And we get 32 new points. Wow. Okay, well, let's get the player management and the communication up. 27 left. We're going to go for the tactics next, which does give us a improvement on the mental training. There's still 8 left. Okay. Do I want player evaluation? No. think we're going to start getting into, say, return. Yeah, just like that, tactical and mental training is now maxed out as well. Not just the physical training, but now we have the tactical and mental side of it. That's got to be a big boost. That has got to be a big boost. That's going to help. I don't have to just train physical now. We've got that second category to begin training. Still only 1 star for technical, even though we did start adding in the very first points there. So just as I'm getting things under control, we're into a World Cup week, and I would think that, well, actually, it's possible, right? Martina King could get selected. She's jumped up the rankings a lot. Junior girls, let's find out. Here are your final 8. Number 5, United States against Portugal. That's a great first round matchup for them. Spain and Switzerland. France and Sweden, lucky to face each other with their rankings being similar, where Czech Republic get a pretty healthy advantage over Brazil. And Brazil, of course, you got to think has the worst draw. They've really missed out. But with the number 1, the number 3 missing, the number 6, number 7 missing, the U.S. comes into this as one of the favorites. This semifinal, assuming the U.S. gets through that first round, is going to be a clear match with Czech Republic probably having an easier path to the final anyway. Selected for the United States, Quevedo, number 8, Shannon Lamb, number 38, Martina King, now 48th in the rankings. Nagunye is all the way down to 76th, with Kate Faki at 93rd. So, first ever selections for Lamb, King, and Faki. Quevedo was 2-1 in that last round, where Nagunye only played once but won it. I am not managing though, so it's not up to me. End of season sports goals here. Nagunye, oh gosh, she had something. She had something positive, I thought. No, she did not. It was all senior level goals, but we couldn't get her anywhere. Like, she did nothing at the senior level. So Nagunye, total failure of goals. Avda wanted to win 1 title. She made a semifinal. That was it. She was well short of her goals for the season as well. Montgomery did want to win a title, and she did manage to do that. She wanted to crack the top 50, and she got 116th. So she was okay with her goals. She did not qualify for a Grand Slam. Australian Open, she made it to the second round qualifier pre-tournament. And her ranking for the U.S., now that is upsetting. She wanted to be top 20. She was 23rd. That should have at least been a partial evaluation. That close. This should have been, and even this should have been a partial evaluation. That should have brought her up a little bit to maybe 3/4 or 2/3. King, though, top 300, top 48. Top 50, 5. Junior level. Lamb took the first match and lost it, so Portugal lead. King is going to go up against Pauto, and Nagunye is going to go into the doubles match if we get to that point if King wins, alongside Lamb. Portugal only brought 4 members, and they are all experienced. They've all played minimum 4 matches. Pauto does not look like a dominant force. This is somebody that King should be able to beat. Extra 40K payout for King for sponsors. That's helpful, but let's get back to what happened with that World Cup. So Nagunye does win. So King wins 6-3, 6-2 in her round. Nagunye, they lose the first set but win the second 2 sets to move on to the semis. Then in the semifinals, it's Nagunye who beats Kunz, and then Faki wins hers. And so it's a straight sweep there. Czech Republic beats France. So it is Czech Republic in the final. And the U.S. wins the final 2-0. King beating Samson. This is the number 2 team in the junior rankings. King wins in 3 sets, 6-4, losing 6-1, and then winning 6 winning 7-6 with a tiebreaker. And then Lamb goes on to win the second singles match. Wow. So that is a straight 2-0 singles match victories for King. And Nagunye now 3-0. And the U.S. wins the junior finals with on the backs of Lamb, really, and our two players. Goveda didn't even get selected. Faki did play once in the doubles, right, alongside Nagunye, and won there. We've got a week left in November. Our season is wrapping up here, so we are pushing into that December. We're looking at 513,000 in debt, but there's going to be a turn of the month in a week. So there is expected to be further debt, another 60K, but there should be something coming in with earnings here that should help offset that. Could it be another 30K, 540? Is that what we're really looking at? Nagunye's junior rankings drops from 39th to 76th. She did 5 tournaments, lower level stuff. She finally started winning some matches, 11 out of 15, 1 tournament victory, 73%. But we had to really, really, really drop down to make that happen. It did help her win a little bit more. Senior level, she finally gets a win. A win. But her ranking still drops because it was 1 point. It was the lowest level. Montgomery. Not a great stretch for her. Her ranking drops a little bit. Her points accumulation, her prize money all fell off. That's a big drop too for us. That certainly hurt. She still won 10 matches in there. She just didn't get quite as deep into the tournaments. Hovda, definitely a better stretch. Lower level, only won a couple more points, but she finally did start winning something. 4 tournaments, she'd win a couple rounds in each on average. And King continues to grow and build. Ranking goes up another 15 spots. Points very similar. 5 tournaments, less tournaments. Number of matches about the same though because she pushed a lot deeper. She won 1 of them. Annual finance report. This is the ugly bit. The sports center, that youth and scouting staff, expensive. Staff, 179K. That part hurts, right? You feel like, hey, if we don't pay anybody else, we go down to 0. We save 180,000. The banking costs also hurt a lot. That 116K, we'd love to get away from that. But right now, the board, it's a big fat 0. That's the big question. What will that board injection be? How much will it be? Will they recognize the debt and pay more? Because I think normally it's about 300K. It's going to have to be a whole lot more if we are going to be able to continue this on. Tournament winnings, ultimately, still ended up being 3rd. It closed up on that business center. It almost overtook it. It was only 20K away from that youth and scouting center, but we needed that tournament winnings to be equivalent of like that sports center. We needed it to be like 400K. Even then, that's only 250 more. But for what I expected for the board, that was what I was aiming for. It came up well short. Men's Tour, Spain won the World Cup. Women's Tour, France won the World Cup. They're 4th. For the juniors, boys and girls went to the United States. New season coming to an end. It's not a new season. The season is coming to an end. Now, the old season. Medvedev, Rybakina were the top. We didn't have any standouts in any stats, of course. King was the only one who stood a chance at standing out. But notable names, Raducanu, best on clay. Osaka, best serve. Kyrgios, best male serve. Montgomery was a top 10 player on clay. And top 10 in first serve percentage. And actually, Montgomery was number 1 in serve points won. Nice job there. And so the next day, her morale is at rock bottom. Make it make sense. It's getting worse, folks. It's getting worse. We are at 595,000 here on December 1st. But Havda and Nagunye both are getting some offers for sponsorships. It was more than expected, but it was well short of what was necessary. 354,000 is the board payout. That leaves us 235,000 in debt as we sit. That's not something you could just simply overcome. Even if we improve by 100 or 200k in the coming year, we still have a negative balance. We're still going to be slightly further in debt the following year, and as things go, it's going to spiral more and more because the banking interest, right? We're starting 250k worse off than we were a year ago. Even if we increase our winnings, there's more interest that's going to pile on over time. So the scenario is inevitable that we are going to just drop and spiral further and further and further and further into debt, and eventually your athletes just run out. King is not going to magically get better and better and better with time. So here's what's going to happen. I am going to have to start anew with changes, which does mean I get a reset on King. We'll have a new athlete this time around, but I'm going to have to change something. Something's going to have to get boosted. The extreme, all three scenarios of difficulty that you're selecting, all three of them coming out that way is impossible to overcome. All three of them are on the hardest. So something's going to have to get a boost, whether it's the facilities, whether it's the starting cash, whether it's better athletes, whether it's the difficulty. Like, one of those has to get some sort of boost. I'm not going to go with the difficulty one. We're going to take the difficulty and keep that the same. Better athletes could have better winnings. We now know how to keep form. We know the importance of form. I know methods on how to keep that better. So there's some changes there. I think maybe starting with a little bit of cash that you can invest into better facilities right away, so you're not losing as much money, would probably be a good thing. Maybe investing in a couple of coaches. It's hard to say. It's hard to say where the changes would need to be, but there needs to be a change, without a doubt, because again, this is just going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. We're 250k worse off now than we were a year ago. Next year, even if we improve, best case scenario is for us to be an additional 250k in debt because of the banking problems, right? All we can really do is offset that. That's all we can do. So I think best case scenario, we're looking at being about 500k in debt this time a year from now. And there's nothing that I can do about that. More winnings are just going to get offset by increased interest rates. Even if we drastically improve, and I mean drastically improve, $150,000 better off a year from now in terms of winnings, really, really coming up, right? We find better form, blah, blah, blah. We do this, we do that. We don't go through a 6-month period where we're winning almost nothing. Like, I could see us improving the winnings. I could see us not losing as much. But the interest is still going to spiral. It's still going to get worse. So we can make a dent, but it's still going to be negative. And the board, even if they turn around and give us 350,000 again next year, we're still looking at, no matter what we do, we're not going to improve it by 250,000, especially with the increased bank costs, the increased interest on it. I could see us finding 100,000 easily in better tournament winnings. I could see us finding 200,000. Not easily, but I could see us finding another 200,000 in tournament winnings next year if we continue. But with an extra 50 or 60,000 in interest, you're only improving by 140, 150. So you're still losing another 100,000 minimum, right? Best case scenario, we're at minus 350. But that's after the injection. So I've got to go back. I've got to do a reset. Here's the thing, though, folks. So I'm going to take a little break. Okay? Couple things here. I have vacation coming up in just a couple weeks, and I'm going to be gone for a week. I also just had this massive turnover of Tennis Manager, Pro Cycling Manager, Tour de France, all coming out at the same time. A week or so before this came out, I had Farm Manager World. I had 10 active games at the same time. I've taken care of one of those, but I am busier than one could imagine. I'm trying to change format. I'm trying to get to a scenario where I only have about 2 active series at a time, and I can bring you a lot more content at once. I am going to come back with this. I love Tennis Manager. This is going to be a key part to the channel, and it's going to get its due service. But I've got to take at least a week to catch up on other things. And then I'm going to come at you with a lot of Tennis Manager content in the near future. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for being here. This is not the end of this series. Not at all. But we need a reset. And that's what I feared we were headed for. I feared we were just a little bit too bad off. I think there were mistakes this season, and I could have easily had us 100K or so better off, which would have meant less interest over the course of the season, so maybe 150K better off. I think, perfect world, play this better, know the ins and outs of how the form works. I honestly think I could have probably kept this down to maybe 100K debt, maybe 80K debt. Then you're in the neighborhood of, with another year, with another development, you might, I think the extreme everything could just about, you could almost survive it. Almost. But you got to play it perfectly. And, 1 out of 4 athletes in form for half the year was definitely not the way to play that perfectly. I'm tempted to start over as is and not change anything. I think not much would have to change. Not much would have to change to make it work, right? A little cash injection at the start. A little more money. Enough to get a coach or 2. Enough to upgrade 1 or 2 facilities. Small stuff. Big difference. And then the micromanaging the training to keep the form high, to keep the morale high, and not focusing on other stuff necessarily. Just keep those eggs high. Bring one along. I could see how we could do this. But that's going to do it for this one. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.